With the recent 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz and election of Donald Trump, I've been thinking a lot about how fascism takes hold in a nation. And now I understand how 1930s Germany happened. Let's talk about it. So, fascism is a deeply idiosyncratic and amorphous ideology. It's probably one of the most contested and argued systems of political doctrine. And we can get into the theory, but I want to talk about a few tendencies of fascism. The first and most obvious is ultranationalism, a belief in the nation, the great nation of, be it Germany, make America great again, make Great Britain great again, a belief that it's a nation, a land, a blood and soil, if you will, that constitutes the greatness of a certain people. And it's very territorial. It's a very animal view of how tribes and people form their identities. And in many ways, it's a low order thinking. It's very reptilian. It's very territorial in its thinking. And a lot of fascism is often enabling the worst sides of humanity, be it racism, essentialism, a us versus them dynamic, a hate, and a victimhood. Because fascism thrives on that constant war with the other. There's always someone out there trying to get you. And that's why it's inherently self destructive and contradictory and often incoherent. That's why it's so hard to define because there is tendencies, but it can change with time, geography, and culture. So you have ultranationalism, which is most obvious, and then you have conspiratorial thinking. In 1930s Germany, they blame pretty much the failures of the military strategy, the failures of World War One on Jews. After the traumatic loss, the compounding effect of the Treaty of Versailles that completely decimated the economy and kind of destroyed the country in a way, they were at their lowest. They were humiliated, deeply traumatic, humiliated. And that's where you have a population susceptible and rife for some of the worst tendencies in humanity, us versus them dynamics. A essentialism of the good guys, us, and them the bad guys. And you see the Aryan races, the pure, righteous people, and Jews as both contradictory, conniving, intelligent, whilst also being kind of dirty, rat like cockroaches. And that's where you see the incoherence because they're both powerful and weak at the same time. And you often see that with how they present the left or wokeism. Like the universities, it's like, oh, the left are weak. They're emasculated, but also they have all the control. They have this cultural control. Cultural Marxism has taken over and it's undermining Western values. And that's where, again, you get the conspiracy theories of the Great Replacement theory, of QAnon, Pizzagate, COVID, many other conspiracy theories associated with the far right. So it's deeply anti intellectual, and that's interlinked with the emotional nationalism, the conspiracy theory, the kind of paranoia of there's always someone out to get you. And that's why they're so against universities. That's why they're so against experts. And we've seen this distrust in institutions, and sometimes rightly so. But they go to the point where they just completely discount the climate science, where it's like now they're just like, well, it's a hoax. It's not real. Climate change is not real. Have they read the science? Often no. It's an emotional, irrational, conspiratorial thinking of because it came from a university or it came from Hollywood or whatever, it's wrong. Inherently, I don't trust it. And it's so ironic because leftists don't and Marxists do not have control over universities or Hollywood. These are owned by very wealthy capitalist interests, especially universities. They are businesses that make a lot of money. Yeah, they may have leftists or liberals working in the institutions as lecturers, professors, writers, directors, but they don't own these institutions. And that's where the conspiratorial comes in. And it's like, oh, they've got this control. And yeah, liberals and left do have a cultural control because art often is made by people on the left. But that does not mean that somehow they have this kind of desire to just make everybody Marxist or like cultural Marx. There's a kind of a plan there to turn everyone trans or whatever the talking point is this week. So you have a deep into anti-intellectualism, and that's tied. They're all linked together to an essentialism, often racial, like again, Aryan, white, pure good, Jews, dirty, black people, dirty, Roma, anything that doesn't meet that Aryan ideal, which is that's it. That's all it is, an ideal. It's not, it's arbitrary. It's not really based in anything. I mean, for example, Hitler was born in Austria, but he identified as a German. I mean, it's so, I mean, I thought German was in your blood. Obviously not. So you have a essentialist view of men as men, steely, hard, they go to work, they provide, and the woman is barefoot, they stay at home, and they reproduce the next generation of the Aryan race. And this is deeply, I think it's one of the most important components of fascism because it kind of discounts any evidence that people are fluid, that the brain is elastic, that people aren't just their biology. They aren't automatons. They're not machines. We can determine our identities, who we are, and race is very anti-scientific as well. Again, the anti-intellectualism, the emotional view of, oh, you know, we know race is only skin deep, but to them it's everything. And that's where fascism gets really dangerous because it's that view of we are the best, we're the kind of apogee of humanity, and anyone else is disposable, essentially. That's where you get into the essentialism where we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. And the bad people are just ruining society for everyone. So if we just got rid of those bad people, everything would be okay. But that's an illusion because in the UK, the immigration debate is that, oh, these Muslim rape gangs or refugees are coming over committing crime. If they weren't here, everything would be okay. Well, no, we still have native citizens who commit crime. We still have corporate crime. We still have inequality. We still have a political establishment that doesn't really care about its citizens and is more bowing to financial institutions than the working class. But they don't talk about that. They can't analyze. Their analysis deeply fails because when you see someone as an essentialist, like good, you can't look at the material conditions that create those historical and economic situations. So you just see like, okay, so crime has gone up. Who's committing the crime? Oh, it's black people. Therefore, black people are the problem. They have no analysis beyond, I don't like black people. I'm white, therefore I'm the good guy. It's really that it's again, it's the lowest order thinking and the worst tendencies of humanity politically enabled. And I don't think we should enable these tendencies in humanity. And they are human tendencies, but we know that they don't end in good places. But we're seeing that the increased inequality, the discontent, the alienation, the depression, the polarization of people across the world are pushing people towards fascism because they're not being essentially offered a viable alternative, such as socialism and a workers' revolution that puts them at the forefront. That's not there at the moment because the left pretty much doesn't exist, which is deeply depressing as a leftist, but it doesn't as a coherent ideological project. So you are seeing a push to the right where they're saying, right, society's crumbling, Western civilization is falling, and it's woke, DEI, and immigration. We're going to get rid of them, and your life would be good. I'm sorry, but it won't. It will not be better. Life will not just instantly improve if you just get rid of immigrants, which, good luck with that. Optically, ain't happening. And then you get rid of often virtue signal, milk toast, liberal identity politics. Does that really impact people's life day to day? Not really. The culture wars is just a distraction manufactured by the right, not to talk about the real economic issues, not to talk about inequality and who owns all the power, the wealth, and how they've just got wealthier and wealthier, whilst people at the bottom have just got poorer and poorer. They don't want us having this conversation, so they have to go like, "Oh, DEI, innit? It's DEI and woke and bloody transes. Transes in bloody sport." No, people's life will not be improved under Donald Trump, objectively. He will cut taxes to the wealthy, he'll increase deficit spending, he's going to cut the public services, Medicaid, education that will impact the average American more than anyone. Donald Trump won't be impacted by this. Elon Musk won't be. Jeffrey Bezos. They don't care because they don't care about you. Why would they? It's not in their interest, their class interest. They are billionaires at the top. They hate the working class. Donald Trump famously said, "I love the poorly educated," because he knows he's lying to them. And he knows the fascist lie. You repeat a lie long enough and it becomes the truth. A line from Goebbels. And he knows it. He does it. Lie, 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 lie. Just repeat it. And it becomes reality. And we have bespoke reality now. We live in a post-truth era where you can have your conspiracies, you can have your alternative facts, and you can kind of just believe what you want to believe. And it doesn't have to be embedded in evidence. And that's fascism. That's the essence of fascism. It's a fantasy world where you can have your enemies like DEI and woke and transes, but it doesn't really tackle the real problems facing society that creates crime, depression, discontent, and alienation. It's a failed analysis. It's a failed ideology. And it is self-destructive. And obviously, things are going to get worse before they get better. But like any good story, you have to have the low point, the dark night of the soul, the moment where the protagonist almost meets death before we can find the light again and come together and realize after the darkest hour that we are all basically the same. We want the same thing. We've got the same needs: food, love, shelter, community. And we're being taken for a ride by the people at the top. And they're making us argue amongst each other about immigration and DEI and woke and transes. Whereas we should be talking about them and taking back control. So I have hope for the future. I hope you do too. Hit the like button and I'll see you in the next video.